Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Anders. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on April 5th, 2024 at approximately 4:32 p.m. PST. Now, I've returned to this world for one primary purpose. That is to remind people that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. Now, I bill myself as a spiritual guide because the tools I offer are the exact same tools I personally use in my day-to-day life. And the philosophies of life I talk about are the same philosophies I guide virtually every movement by. Now, with this in mind, I'm absolutely certain that these tools will work for you because, frankly, they've been working for me all along, and they have worked for thousands of other people with varying degrees of success, depending on their own personal efforts. Now, we have in the house, before we get started, we have Philip Blair is in with the goal today. Philip, how you doing? Glad you could join us. And Eternity Eternal is in with the silver. And I know you're constantly busy. Hopefully things have been going well. Joe Stewart, how you doing? Things are presumably on the active side at this point. So I'm glad you guys are all here. We're getting off to a real quick start. Now, today we're looking at, I was thinking we were looking at family, but in all fairness, we're looking at communication right now. Okay. Or did we do communication last week? Now I've confused myself. LA, you are in with honorable mention. How you doing?
Keith, you did communication on Tuesday.
Oh, that's what through. Okay, that's what through.
Communication and creativity was on Tuesday.
Yeah. Okay, so we are into family and foundation. Thank you so much. Gives you an idea how my day's been going, doesn't it? Well, mind you, in all fairness, yesterday, the night before last, I went to bed at 10, was up on the go at 2 o'clock in the morning until 10 o'clock last night. And then I've been up since 2 o'clock again. And the real neat part there is I'm actually not sleeping poorly. I'm just not sleeping long. Steve, how you doing? Glad you could join us. So now we take a look at, we've got the communication moving. And where is my pen? Right there. Get this corrected so I know what I'm up to. So we are looking at foundation now. So we just mark that down. That way I can keep track of it. Now, you got to remember, this whole world was designed for a couple of primary reasons. One was so that spirits, as in you, could experience the physical world with limited senses in a corporeal body. Now, whatever your memories, okay, some of you have memories that place you real solidly back in another lifetime. Some people I have talked to literally go, they ignore the fact that their body is operating as a human. So in other words, you have to eat human type food. Medication, pretty generally speaking, works for you. And yet people will tell me, "Oh, I'm absolutely not human." I have one guy actually absolutely tell me point blank, I'm a natural half-breed Anunnaki human. Well, number one, that's physically impossible. Okay, because by the time an Anunnaki can reproduce, the short ones are 15 feet tall. Now, doesn't matter whether you're talking male or female, this is not going to work for natural conception. Okay. Now, that being said, I didn't say he wasn't, but I told him it's physically not possible. Okay, because the Anunnaki just don't come in any smaller. But when we take a look at what you're doing with your life now, you figured out, hopefully you've taken the time to figure out what you're not content with. Okay. So it really boils down to an issue of making certain that you start with that and then start making the necessary changes to what's going on in your life. That boils down to one little detail. Family being identified as two adults, any species under one roof where the two adults share the responsibility of guiding however many other people they decide to have under the same roof. No, Philip, the Anunnaki definitively do not. In all fairness, the Anunnaki don't even don't even eat their dead. The Anunnaki are very much along the same concept as humans, okay, in their behaviors. But you are right. There are some spiders that will eat their mate. The praying mantis is another one that will do that. Adds a whole new outlook to the thing. Oh, there we go. Joe goes, it's WrestleMania 40 week for me, starting tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern on the Peacock Network. WWE Hall of Fame 2024. So I'll be up late for that. For that. Really don't want to miss it. See, unfortunately, Joe, I saw something the other day on WWE. I shut it down. I won't go back to the thing. I was so disgusted with what I saw in their storylines. I'm just not about to give it any more time of day. And what do we got here? Mantids, mantids certainly seem scary, but they're not as bad as you might think. Tony D, how you doing? Glad you could join us. I am quite pleased you've managed to get here. I don't see you in here often, but I'm glad to see you when you get here. But no, in all fairness, Philip, the mantids themselves are not actually as big of a problem as you might think. But, let's see, I think, what do I got here? Now, I've got the Archon there. Why don't I do that okay. Philip, this is literally a direct question. I'm still working on getting Races of the Worlds, the second printing completed. But I have started adding the color and the pictures to started adding the pictures and the excerpts to the newsletter. Now, the newsletter is free. Okay, and all you gotta do to get to the newsletter, and I think I'm just gonna start calling it a magazine. I don't trip over it as badly, but it's absolutely free. If you look at the link above at the top there on Buy Me a Coffee, that will put you in touch. You can get the magazine because it only goes out to people by request. Well, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Oh, yeah, I absolutely, the funny thing there, where it comes to wrestling competitions, back when Jesse was a person, was an all-star. The important factor from my standpoint was pretty cut and dried. Yes, they had some interesting storylines, but Tony is asking, thanks for having me, Keith. What's your opinion on the Ministry of Culture trying to take the Nazca mummies? Well, in my opinion, for what it's worth, trying to hide the mummies does not make sense. Hiding the information does not make it go away. I'm not sure whether, in all fairness, I'm really not sure where the Nazca mummies are. Okay, but anytime you start striving to bury the past or destroy past artifacts, anytime you've got that, we've got a problem. Because there's an old saying that goes, those that don't know history are doomed to repeat it. Problem is, those that dwell on history have the exact same problem. With the Nazca mummies being taken out of circulation, how are we supposed to focus on making necessary changes? Of course, in all fairness, they haven't been taken out of circulation in the past, and people are still repeating what they did years ago. I've got absolute concrete proof in the way of an autobiography from my grandmother who actually grew up she actually was a young adult through the Great Depression. And people are still treating each other the same way, if not on occasion worse. But when this world was put together, where are we here? Yeah, and I agree with you, Philip. There are absolutely some parts of history that would be nice to replicate. Unfortunately, most of the ones that people are tending to replicate right now aren't good ones. The nice part about it is when you look at the way this world was designed, it was designed so family became the important factor. But let's be clear, bloodline does not make family. Bloodline, you do not get rid of it. Okay, you're stuck with it whether you like the person or not. Okay, family, in my opinion, bloodline quite often comes into it. Okay, like I don't deny that bloodline matters. Okay, and even though I've got at odds sometimes with my brothers, they're still family. Yeah, Ellie's going, these mummies are Peruvian, and there is some assertion that they are dolls or mannequins, not mummies. And this is no. This is the thing. Whether they are dolls or mummies, or dolls or mannequins or mummies, they're still part of history, and should, in my opinion, be put someplace where people can at least enjoy them. Let's face it. People are trying to destroy things. I heard tell that some genius decided to destroy the heads on Easter Island. Now, I haven't looked into it, but if that's the case, that's a pretty horrendous maneuver. I'm gonna have to take that out. My play toy is behind my filing cabinet right now. Yeah, Philip goes, bloodline makes vampire. No, bloodline doesn't make vampire, although vampires do have bloodlines. But no, when we're dealing with family, it really boils down to communication and really making certain you're on the same track. Okay. Family is the foundation of civilization, by the way. Okay. Any way you look at it, if you've got a household of people and you have a second household of people and they're interacting, we now have an expanding and growing civilization. And this is one of the reasons why laws are rather critical. Yeah. LA goes, depends on genetics, Phil, but it's a disease that is attributed to porphyria. Oh yeah, the one you're talking about there, Joe, it was a Martokian. Okay, and he was over 6 feet tall. It wasn't abnormal. The thing that was abnormal was the fact that first and foremost he was green. And second of all, his knees were backwards. But I mean, it stood out rather well. Neat part there, I'm just looking at this, LA. Okay, and yeah, the porphyria is absolutely an illness. Okay, and from what I gather, it boils down to the body's inability to actually produce iron. But vampires themselves, as in the real ones, still exist. That'd be your sanguina. Now, the neat thing with the sanguina is they are not, it is not an illness. Oh, okay. LA goes iron and keep vitamin D, which would explain why they've got to actually absorb it the other way. With the sanguina, they are not contagious. They don't turn people. They do not infect other people, but they do have an interesting culture. And Phil's just going, I did a horror story search for the phrase me as bait. I didn't see as many results as I was expecting. Well, that's a funny thing. That's the funny thing. Is it's very entertaining when you start looking at gaming and what have you. And again, it boils down to this: if you're looking at your family, make certain, and this is really important in today's world, more so than it ever was. Actually, in all fairness, not more so than it ever was. It's just it used to be utilized. But I strongly recommend that that literally everybody takes at least one meal a week. Okay, preferably one a day, but at the very least, pick one meal. Okay, and you shut down all of your electronics. You don't have to unplug them, just turn them off. Okay, and have a meal at the dinner table. Okay, enough of this idea of running off, everybody go to their own rooms. Okay, we've got to get communication lines back up and running. The biggest problem, and that's the thing. Here's the other little thing where it comes and it looks like we're going down an interesting family, but that works. When we take a look at the vampire, number one, we got to remember that cross that every movie shows. Hold up the cross and you can hold the vampire back. That only works if the vampire believes in the cross. Okay. I mean, I can just picture the problem that a pagan vampire is going to have. Somebody holds up a cross and goes, "In the name of Christ," and it's like, great, invite him to dinner, but who is he? The reality of it is this: yes, they absolutely. It's not that they're allergic to garlic; they are sensitive to it, but that's because the taste buds are also heightened. But family, the thing with family is the question is whether or not you're supporting each other essentially as families do. Some families. There are lots of families that frankly are, to say the least, dysfunctional. Phil goes, well, yeah. LA says a pentacle would be better. Absolutely, it would be. Although they might take that as an invite. Depending on the vampire. And Phelps gun could be a Zarathustra vampire. Now, to be honest with you, there, Philip, I don't know what a Zarathustra vampire is. Okay, clearly, but then again, It's not vampires I've studied. Vampires are, in my opinion, the vampire per se is an interesting creature. Is an interesting entity, and certainly has its place. I'm not going to go into the history of it. I will tell you that if vampirism was contagious, we would not have near as many humans on this planet. Okay, that would have been a bit of a problem. But what we can safely say is, regardless of who the people are, okay, as long as you pay attention to family, you're going to find things go a lot better. If you're getting along with your family, that is. You know, the reality is, if you're not getting along with family, oh, then that begs the question, Philip. Philip goes, I don't either, but probably a Persian vampire. Oh, families absolutely come in many forms. And this is why I say, when we talk about bloodline, yes, the term blood is thicker than water is, literally speaking, very true. However, bloodline does not necessarily mean you get along. You know, that's just the reality behind it. You know, when we take a look at the reality of it, family is an issue of having people that will, for the most part, have your back. But understand, somebody that is truly family, as it were, will not have your back if you're deciding that you're going to be stupid about it. Okay, if you're going to do something absolutely ridiculous, a true family will step up and say, this is a bad idea, don't go there. Okay, they won't let you just walk into it. You know, that's just the reality behind it. But what we got to remember is, when you've got a family that you can rely on and that you know are going to be upfront and honest with you, that's when you can start making changes to your life with assistance to attain the goals that you've got laid out for yourself. Okay, and it does boil down to what you believe and whether you're in solid communication. Are we looking at, yeah, we're definitely going to have to get water afterwards. Nice thing about a cactus is you can dry the thing out and it'll still be fine. Now, well, Elliott's going, nothing sadder than an atheist in a Hammer film. My biggest problem is I have no idea what a Hammer film is. Okay, I know what an atheist is, and I do feel for atheists. You know, I'm personally, from that standpoint, agnostic, as in I believe wholeheartedly in God, believe wholeheartedly in Christ, probably more so than many of you. I don't have a whole lot of belief in the way that the modern religion is treating things. They are leading people badly astray with the way they are segregating people. And let's not be picky about it. I'm not talking about one religion. Oh, there we go. Thank you so much, Philip. See, now there's a real good reason why I am not up to date on the horror movie production companies. I don't watch horror movies. Okay, I have never paid a lot of attention to them when I was a lot younger. I used to watch them on occasion, but they never did much for me. Now, of course, there was the exception. I did enjoy watching the original Exorcist. Okay, but the reality of it is, it was a movie with a whole different ballgame. But now what we're looking at is a society that family has been almost abolished. Okay, people have been taught to go in their own direction, look for instant gratification, immediate results with minimal personal effort, and absolutely no responsibility. Now, this may not be the case in your home. And if it is not, then absolutely do not take it on. Okay. Unfortunately, I'm seeing it happen way too frequently. That's just the biggest problem of it. And before I get into it any further, I got to do something here while I'm thinking of it. Whoop. Where are we? Not that one. We require this one. This, see, tonight at 9 o'clock, 9 o'clock Pacific, we go live. Okay, we're going live with the ET Connection on Spaced Out Radio. Now, this is the link to it. Not going to be there for a while. Oh. Tony's going, my niece asked me what I've been up to. I said, researching UFOs. She smacked me on the arm and said, oh, stop it. Family thinks I'm crazy. My own brother told me the other day, he goes, look, I don't think you're crazy, but the way you talk makes you appear crazy. And, I've had 3 individual shrinks all tell me the same thing. No, you're not crazy. You're absolutely not. But you definitely have a different way of looking at the world. And apparently I've got a very vocal temper when things go sour. Something to keep in mind, Tony, you can pass this on to anybody, to anyone you know. Okay, when I was looking into how can I tell if I'm actually losing my mind? Without exception, every psychiatrist, psychologist, counselor, student of any of the above disciplines all said the same thing. If you're asking, am I losing your mind? Am I losing my mind? If you're asking at all, the answer is you're not crazy. Because if you were crazy, you wouldn't even question whether you were. It would just be part and parcel. No frustration I can deal with, Philip. I have a problem with stupidity, and I have a massive problem with bullying, which is why with the modern storylines on WWE, that is precisely why I won't go back and watch it. Possibly, I don't know if I ever will. Okay. I didn't watch it through the 90s. I took a break from it anyway. And then life got in the way. But no, I have a problem with blatant bullying. And I certainly, I don't mind if somebody gets frustrated because they're having troubles. And this is why I say, if you're at a point in your life, if you're at a point in your life where you desire to change your life for the better. Now, I am not the best author out there. I'm not the best writer. But I will tell you, okay, if you desire to change your life for the better, this series of books, okay, now I've only got 3 in print right now. I'm working on the 4th one. It's coming along nicely. But these books, Believe in Yourself. Well, Believe in Your. This one's self. This one is business. This one is finance. All of them are designed to give you a place to start. If you don't know where to start, by changing it, you start to change your life, to alter the energy pattern in your life path, and thereby attain the goals that you've got laid out for yourself. If you're at that point and you're aiming to change for you, but you don't know exactly where to begin, this is what I'm referring to. Now, you start with yourself. In over the last couple of weeks here, we were dealing with the energy levels. with choices, with communication. Now we're looking at family, bringing it all together. Now understand something very important. When we take two people together, right there, you've got a family. Yeah, absolutely, Tony. Yeah, and I grew up dealing with bullies. Okay, now I had a heck of a sport group. Unfortunately, it didn't do a thing for my vocal temper, but it did keep me from getting my body kicked to pieces. You know, I don't have a lot of tolerance for bullies. This is why when we had the troll attack a couple of months back, it caused such a conflagration in my own system that I decided a heart attack was a really cute idea. Okay, not necessarily the best option, but it was the one that happened. Now, one of the things that we have to look at is if you're changing your life for the better. I'm talking about changing it for you for the better in your eyes. Okay, not in mine. I may have a different outlook on what is better. What matters is what feels here. And that's where things come in. Okay, now the biggest challenge that we've got right now in today's world is, in my opinion, the family unit has faltered. It has been almost unilaterally, almost legislated out of existence. Okay, when you've got children that aren't even walking yet, being able to decide what gender they desire to be. Okay, when you've got teenagers sitting there going, I know my rights, I don't have to do what you're telling me. And when you've got adults that will blatantly read a law and totally ignore it, we have a massive problem. The whole system is in trouble. Okay, but here's a neat little kicker. Just by looking at this little tiny microcosm, okay, with the people we've got in this room, okay, if you think that with the people we've got in this room, we start behaving in a more positive fashion where we're not accepting the negative input, or when negative input comes in, we're exposing ourselves to double that amount in positive. Okay, you do that, and we're going to change the energy of the planet. We're going to alter the energy flow on a major level. But we gotta quit pointing the finger at the government, at the elites, at the different nationalities. You gotta start looking in the mirror. Okay, and that's just the reality behind it. And if I seem a little off kilter, it's only because I'm dizzy. So, you're going to have to pardon me for a minute. If you see me fall down, don't worry, I'll get back up. Well, that was fun. The exciting challenge of trying to make it up a hallway. It's a good thing the hallways aren't too terribly wide. Friend of mine actually pointed out that vertigo for me tends to be a sodium drop. Net result, salt, not sugar. The nice part about it. Christine, how you doing? Glad you could join us. I take a look at the people in this room, and this is what upsets me with some people. Okay, when we get the bullies in here, because to me, this is my extended family. This little place here. Okay, it is a microcosm. Oh yeah, no, my voice is doing great. It's weird, Christine. It really is. I got up at 2:00 this morning and yesterday morning. Yesterday I was up from 2:00 in the morning until 10:00 at night, and then back up at 2:00 this morning. But my energy levels do seem to be stabilizing somewhat. So I don't have too much of a concern there. I've already talked to Dave and confirmed I'll be there tonight. When we look at family, we are looking at at a group of people that are starting, and I've seen this in this room all along. Somebody pipes up with a problem. Somebody wakes up with a problem, opens up and says, look, this is what I'm going through. I kid you not, I've seen as many as a half dozen people jump in and say, here's what you can do with it. Well, I could go with the salty language. I used to run a dragon ship, and boy, was I good at that. Now I won't even go to the water. I'm going to the lake. Not afraid of it, just no interest. It's amazing, when you drown, it takes away a lot of the interest in going swimming. Didn't cause any fear for me. The nice part about it, when we take a look, in my eyes, Christine, waking up at 2:00 in the morning, it used to concern me, right? But what it boiled down to was this. I didn't like that I was sleeping for 2 hours, getting up for an hour or two, going back to bed. Okay. Well, what's starting to happen is, I'm still only sleeping 3 or 4 hours, but get this. And don't take my word for it. Do your own math. I calculated it out. I started with just an anchor point of going, okay, people talk about requiring 8 hours of sleep. And the first thing that hit me with that concept was, but you're talking about sleeping a third of your life away. So on a whim, I went, what would happen if I were to cut my sleep back to 4 hours a night without losing health? Okay. What would happen? Well, I simply did that. It was not intentional. It kind of worked out that way. Okay. But do understand, in 25 years, I've only had the common cold once. Okay. I don't recall the last time I had the flu. Food poisoning, my last time with food poisoning would have been back in 20 years ago now. Yeah, Christine's just going, it's been a long time since I've made 8 hours. And for me, if I can get a solid 4, something I found out is that if you're sleeping, the trick to getting your sleep in order is pick a time to go to bed. Okay, don't worry about when you're getting up. Or correction, my apologies. Back that up. Pick a time to get up in the morning. Okay, the most successful people globally, from my talking to people, are up and in the office by between 5 and 6 a.m. local time. This is why by the time noon hits, they're down at the golf course. And I have no idea what the draw is to the golf course, but that's another issue. But they're already done a full day's work by the time noon hits. Okay, this is what I've started doing. And I am usually up on the go by 7. And I let that continue until, I'm on the go until 7. Yeah, no. I'm on the go until 10 at night. And then I call it night. But I can drink 2 pots of coffee and roll over and go to sleep. And not have it do a thing to me. Of course, understand I drink very weak coffee. But when you're looking at family, absolutely take the time individually to write down what your primary concerns are, what your primary goals are. If you do that, put it on paper, then you can exchange the paper with the other people in your family. And you can take a look at what they're interested in, and you can thereby work out a compromise where you guys can all get help attaining your own individual dreams. Okay, or your own individual goals. But it boils down to making the effort to get it to happen. That's just the reality of it. Yeah, what I find there, Tony, is I usually get 4 to 5 hours of sleep a night. But about once every 10 days or so, I'll sleep 8. Which tells me my system isn't working entirely correctly yet. Well, that was painful. But that's okay. One of the things we have to remember when you're dealing with family under one roof, you've got to have rules in place. And this is why the 2 adults that go, we're making the laws up. But laws have to apply to every person, every age, they've got to apply to everybody. Now, yes, you can have different tiers of responsibility and what have you by going, okay, you're now 12, this is your new job, deal with it. And I will tell you, kids are a lot happier when they have boundaries in place than they ever have been if they don't know where they're standing. That's just the reality behind it. Now, when we look at family, okay, family is kind of an important little factor because, and this is one of the reasons why I do tend to send people back to church, a temple, a coven, doesn't matter. It's because it gets them in touch with like-minded people and hopefully similar temperaments. But what I've discovered is way too often people end up having extra problems that they don't pay attention to. That they just kind of write off, if you will. So we have to start looking, or at least it's advisable to start looking at the object of what are your long-term plans? What are your long-term goals? Now, I will tell you, this series of books, okay, there will be 12 in all. But now that I've got 3 of them, I've started putting together, there will be a full anthology published down the road. I've got 9 more in this series to do. Now, I've already got 2 lined up. But where did my pen go? There it is. Okay. This little sheet here just has some things I've come across. Okay. Tony D. Tony D is going, if I might be so pertinent, Keith, what is your opinion about CE5 and its protocols and its whole persona? Okay. Couple of very important factors. Number 1, okay, pertinent. Don't know if that's the word we want, but I understand the point. As I've said before, just to clarify, regardless of what we're talking about, if you've got a question in any topic, absolutely post it. The only request would be to post them in all caps so I can find them. I caught this one just for future reference. It's not yelling. It makes it stand out for me. Okay. Now, as far as C5 goes, this is the thing I get a kick out of. Okay, because what I understand, and people have told me C5 is cognitive content, deliberately orchestrated, connection on the part of the human. Now, I will tell you this. From the off-worlders I know of, you can desire to meet them all you'd like. If they don't desire to deal with you, it's not going to happen. Okay, but C5 itself, I will tell you this. My biggest concern is some of the messages that these people come back with. The moment anybody comes back saying, I was talking to XYZ race, and they are ready to launch a full invasion and take Earth. The moment somebody says that, I usually shut the ears off for one reason. If you have, number one, all throughout history, they've been picking people up, and the biggest common denominator when they put them back is you got to start treating your planet better. Why, pray tell, would all of a sudden an entire, like a millennia old system, why would they suddenly turn around and go, oh, we're going to try and eradicate you? Understand the logic is extremely flawed. Okay, but absolutely, if you can orchestrate a connection, absolutely, but I will tell you, it's best you don't get picked up by certain entities. Some of the races, if they invite you to dinner, turn them down. I'm telling you, you don't turn them down, you're the meal. I love it when my world does this. But the C5 itself, if you maintain karma and maintain your focus on karmic law, if both parties maintain focus on karmic law, then there shouldn't be too terribly much trouble with it. Okay, the problem, and when I'm talking karmic law, it's actually listed at the top of the stream, but I'm referring to number one, be true to yourself first. Do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. And energy out, energy in. What this means is if somebody comes up and says, oh no, don't worry, I'm not here to hurt you, I'll tell you, that's your first sign that you might have something to concern yourself with. Because people that are not interested in hurting you won't bring it up. It's just that simple. But I love when my eyes do that. When I'm looking forward and I can see over there easier, there's a problem with the optic nerve. But when we look at C5, absolutely, if you can orchestrate contact, absolutely do. But be aware. Make sure you know who you are aiming to contact. I will tell you wholeheartedly, if you're trying to contact the Tekla, the odds are you would be better off. If you're going to do it, you got to make sure you got the right side of the Civil War. Okay, because Tekla find humans, well, quite frankly, delicious. Okay, so you've got to know what you're up against. If you're aiming to make contact, make sure the personality of the people that you're making contact with. Hopefully that makes sense. But again, when we're talking, especially in this room, you can just about ask anybody. Everybody seems to be working towards the same goal, which, in my opinion, is rather remarkable. Okay, neat part about it is the more focused you are on the outcome, okay, the less enjoyment you're going to get out of the journey. Hopefully that makes sense. But what we have to realize is in order to get moving ahead in this world, you've got to put the negative past to rest. This does not mean you can't look out the window, engage what's going on with the other people. Okay, as you know, actions do speak louder than words. Always get a kick out of it. And not to worry, that's my stock. The reality of it is that when we are looking at family, we are looking at a unit that is the backbone of civilization. Now, do understand, the children are an added bonus to family because two people working together are going to create some positive outcomes. Okay, now will I absolutely guarantee it? No. Way too many variables. But I will tell you that's the way I've seen it happen. Okay, so this is something we do have to be aware of. Gotta be aware of that too. I don't like the fact I'm dealing with vertigo. Because there's no way of gauging when it's going to hit, and no way of gauging when it's going to fade. But with that in mind, yeah, this is that neat little blood pressure machine of mine. Like I said, I have this thing about actually paying attention to what's going on. So I can actually make certain that I don't run into a major problem. So we'll just see what it's doing. Because I'm thinking might having a heart attack while I'm on the air is not necessarily a good idea. But you also got to remember I've been up and about, so if it's a little high, I can understand that. Well, that did not help. I was going to take my blood pressure, but the poor thing just died. Fortunately, it's a minor inconvenience. This is why I keep a blood pressure machine handy. Because that way, I can keep solid tabs on what's going on with it. There we go. This is what it's called just taking care of the important factor. Because let's face it, number one, you must remain true to yourself first. In other words, if you know there's something off kilter, Don't wait for it to be a big problem. Get on it right away. Now, yes, in answer to the question that some of you are undoubtedly wondering, I have actually already explained to my boys exactly what my take on the whole 9 yards is. Now we see if that works better. Mind you, I've had this thing ever since my stroke, so I've had it for 4 years now. And again, I don't even tell my own family what all is going on because they panic way too much. Okay, that's definitely not a good sign. But then I happen up and about. Hopefully it'll come down to a functional level. This is what's called that useless piece. Yeah. Yeah, definitely a little on the high side. But okay, we'll bring that down over time. Yeah, here's some good news for you. Not 146 over 134 with 92 pulse. I'm guessing that's probably not a good thing. However, I feel fine. So before anybody starts panicking about it, I'll keep that handy and see what pops later. Tony, I certainly would not complain. The nice part about it, do I know Reiki works? Absolutely. I cannot call myself a Reiki master because I was never trained. On the other hand, I heal a lot faster than most would think. I've actually had Reiki masters come to me because I can clear their energy field faster. Okay, doesn't make me better. Okay, just different. But that being said, I do know my father was quite adamant when he was corroborating everything that went on with me when I was a kid. He was quite adamant that all of the memories were accurate. When you're looking at family, okay, and this applies to whether we're talking bloodline or chosen, okay, if you've had a fallout, I strongly suggest you reach out and do your best to reconnect. Because I will tell you, it's easier to reconnect now while you're physically all alive than it is later when you start dropping off. Just a thought. Okay, but as you can see, I've got the bed cleared. Yes, I was working on it today, had all my paperwork set up. Had all the paperwork set up so I could work on it. I just have to make sure. This is why I've got this neat little fan here. This one here. Just a little guy, but it's powerful enough to keep the airflow going. When we look at family, you're looking at people that are geared towards working together. Doesn't always happen that way, and this is why I say it really boils down to choices. Okay, who you choose to call family. Just because you're blood related does not mean you're going to see eye to eye. Okay, it's just way too many complications to try and explain all of it. I will tell you this though, whether you believe it is important or whether you believe bloodline makes your family bond stronger or you don't, either way, you still have to deal with the consequences. Okay, and remember, if something doesn't fit right, if it feels like something's off kilter, politely call them on it. Okay, if you don't, you're asking for complications. And this is why I say, what I was going to tell you is eventually these 3 books. Okay, eventually these 3 books okay, are going to end up, along with the 9 other ones, all in one fully bound anthology. And there will likely be a minor title change to it, but here's the thing. Individually, these little books will help you with a simple aspect of your life. I'm just standing up because, frankly, kind of a necessity right now. There we go. Now you can see me. I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but you notice now I can stand back here. Whoop. There we go. See, now I've got this neat little oversized halo here. Now, does that mean that I'm special? Not in the slightest. Not in my eyes. Now, I can't say what other people, well, I could tell you what other people have said, but we're just going to leave that to your imagination. Oh, thank you very much, Tony. And Tony goes, there's no training, just remembering words and symbols, and do as we all have the ability to do healing work. Yeah, absolutely. You know, the reality is I bypassed the whole concept of symbol and went straight with intent. Okay, for me, it's worked to the point that my healing rate is right off the freaking charts. Poor doctors have a problem with that. But when we start looking at the way your world is, okay, it's absolutely imperative that we start getting a handle on it. Now, let me ask you this. In your guys' eyes, because this is where we start working to really change things. Oh, what do we got here? LA goes, I've really enjoyed the dream books. Oh, thank you very much there, LA. She goes, I've really enjoyed the dream books. They neatly fit in a lunch bag or purse for a doctor visit or other place. But, that you might have to wait. I mean, when we're talking small, okay, believe in yourself and follow your dreams literally tells you the steps I took and still take to change. Well, we're going to have your work cut out, so I should really do my best not to do that. What do you think? Okay, this particular one, believe in yourself and follow your dreams, is a whopping, mind-boggling 22 pages long. You've seen the show. Maybe this hour has 22 minutes. Not comedy work. These are practical, short, simple to use tools. Okay, this one literally took care of my self-esteem. I don't. It's not that I think I'm not weird anymore. Frankly, I know full well that I'm weird. Okay, but has been one bumper sticker here. What is it? This one. See, a friend of mine gave me this one. Okay, and this one says, I'm not weird, I'm gifted. Okay, there you go. It's not a bumper sticker, sorry, it's a fridge magnet. And I mean, this works for me. But then you gotta remember, I've been playing Dungeons and Dragons now since the first Saturday of June in 1976. I've been averaging 2 games a week. Now, here's the neat thing on that part. Okay. Yesterday, at my gaming day, Okay. I actually went through, I had 5 characters which started, 5 characters died, plus 2 that when we rolled them up were write-offs. Okay. So there's 7 if you take those 2. And I finally got a little character. I rolled up a character that works like a charm. Okay. There's not much to him, that's for certain. Uh-oh. So what, pray tell, are we going phooey for there, woo? You know, the thing is, I actually laid out the for believing in your believing your organization. Where is it? This sheet. Because I've got to get writing that in earnest tonight because I desire to have it that way. And it really boils down to this. Same principle. Real quick, easy to utilize things. But here's the funny part about those 3 books. Okay. The reason I work with volumes and 12s, okay, is real simple. 3s and 12s. But the reason for it, each of these say, in this case, believe in yourself and follow your dreams. Well, there's a catch here. These are individual tools. There are 12 of them I will be putting together. Once you've got all 12 of the tools, now you can start attaining your dreams. You can do it beforehand. You really can. Okay, like I said, each one of these is standalone. But here's the neat little kicker to it. Okay, whether you believe you can build a family or you believe you cannot, inevitably you're going to be right. Okay, now you guys are what I see as my extended family. Okay, but guaranteed my boys come first. Well, I come first, boys come second, other half comes third, then everybody else. Okay, but the work that you're going to have to do is on you. I can tell you wholeheartedly, you desire your family to stabilize. You desire your life to take on the form you desire to see. That means you're going to have to do the work. Okay. The fact is, the more people work, when you've got several different families putting their own life in order, it will boil over into the other people you meet. Okay. I mean, you think about it. Anyone of you, it would be great to hear from. If you get along in your family, does it not make it easier and more enjoyable to deal with other people? Does this not put things into a brighter perspective? Now, from my standpoint, I will close doors very quickly. It's like I've told people. The pedestal is not what I'm looking for. I tried that, mind you, sad part is, I've tried living on a pedestal. Oh, I'm better than everybody because I've had money. I tried doing the neat little thing of being criminally minded, according to society, and spent a little bit of time hanging around on a cross. Also managed to get myself burnt at the stake. That was fun, but I think one of the hardest ones really was the day they decided they were going to draw and quarter me. Again, I remember past lives. Okay. I remember one past life, and it turned out that the lady that was actually helping with the regression to track down the life turned out funny. Her and I, during that life, Turned out she was male. Now, to the best of anybody's knowledge, I've never actually been female in any of my incarnations. But she was male. And where it started was I'm hanging there on the wall. Okay, literally I was suspended by my wrists on the wall. And I'm sitting there. And I went, okay, well, it's been 2 weeks. I've been here long enough. And I played around a little bit. I slipped out of the handcuff, out of the shackles. Right. And the thing was, when I was taken in, I told my buddy, I said, well, I've been here long enough. I'm done. And he goes, well, wait a minute. You can't leave me behind. Certainly I can. Told you. I don't deal with loose ends. So I can certainly leave you behind. They'll let you go in a couple of years. Now, this is somebody I've been running with for years. Seems I do that a lot. Did that in Rome too. But he piped up and he goes, if you don't get me down from here and take me with you, I'm going to call for the guards. Fine, I'll take you with me. Got him out of it. Okay. And he goes, well, you're not going to kill the guards, are you? I says, I'm just going to put them to sleep. And I took off. Right. I went further into the castle. Come back and I'm dragging this chest with me. And he's like, what's this? I said, what? You think I got caught by accident? I had to get into the castle to get to the chest. Okay. Now they said it was unpickable. So I had to get in there and find out. So I went in there, got the chest, and then when we went to leave, of course, the bodies are all over the place. And my buddy looks at me and goes, I thought you said you weren't going to kill them. I said, no, I said I was going to put them to sleep for a long time. I said, don't worry. Right? He said, but they're dead. I said, that's a long sleep. They'll be back. Okay, granted, they'll be back next lifetime, but that didn't bother me too terribly much. So I turned to get outside, get away from the castle, set the chest down, and I said, hang on to this for a sec. And stuck my short sword into his stomach. And this was my closest friend. Stuck my short sword into his stomach. Okay. He looks at me and of course he backs up. He's like, You stabbed me. I said, well, of course I did. Well, the thing was, Philip, getting in, they're worried about people breaking in. They don't put as high a guard of people trying to leave. And that was what I was banking on. So, he turned around, he says, you stabbed me. I said, well, yeah. Told you I don't like leaving loose ends. And you did threaten to expose me. That makes you a loose end. Right. He said, what, you're going to leave me here to bleed to death? I said, for crying in a water bucket, did I teach you nothing? I said, I don't like loose ends. I leave before you bleed out. They may find you. Okay. And say, they may find you and find out what's going on. I'm just going to take my time here. And once you quit moving, then I'll take off. Now, yes, very cold. He wasn't bloodline, but he was the closest thing I had to family. Problem was, I was not the same type of person I am this lifetime. Okay. But when you're looking at family, well, that was just it. That's the thing, LA. I turned around and went, easiest way to get into prison, get arrested. Easiest way to get out, walk. Nobody's looking for people leaving. So we left. The important factor from my standpoint was this. Family matters. Okay? And this is why I say, I'm going to the top. I'm taking this empire of mine I'm taking this whole idea, Inner Voice Enterprises, and I'm going to turn it into a going global concern. And as many of you as are interested, we will put you to as much work to put your share into it. And I'll take you with me. Okay. And yeah, I realize I'm sitting here going, I'm doing all these great big grandiose things. I am. That's just the way it's going to be. Whether you believe me or not is not a relevant concern to me. Whether or not I believe me, whether I believe I can do it or I believe I can't, in either event, it's going to essentially prove itself the same. Now, something you got to remember when you're dealing with kids, especially when you're dealing with family, if you're telling them they can't do it, they're incapable, they're stupid, they're too slow, you tell them that often enough, they will believe it. Okay. Now, I just happen to have written the book on being stubborn. So with this in mind, you desire your life to change. It's time to start identifying, number one, who are you changing for? Yeah, and Tony's just going, Reiki coming for 1 week. The next time we sleep, dream well. Well, thank you very much for that, Tony. I do appreciate it. I am in the middle of redesigning things for me. One of the biggest challenges I'm having, and I don't really require it because my body already knows, but I do think my analytical mind is getting a little carried away. But you take a look at what your life is like. Talk to those you consider family. Lay it out for them so that you can have an understanding. So you can work out a clear understanding of what you're really expecting. Okay, this is the critical factor. Just working out what I had here for supper, like what I had available, because I'll be eating as soon as I get done the stream. One of the neat little things that I look at with this world is I am firmly convinced that the so-called elites, the politicians, the various different nationalities, none of it matters from the standpoint of tomorrow. You are the same. You are the people that have the ability to modify the outcomes. Kind of a necessary issue. And that boils down to if enough of us change the way our life is running, well, that works well, doesn't it? If enough of us alter the way our life is running, then what you'll find happen, okay, is that your life changes for the better. The things that are not running well, we alter the energy around them, and this will set the stage for you to actually get a lot more accomplished than you're expecting. That's where the real kicker to it is. But what you got to remember, LA is going, I found gathering them together and starting with, I'm facing some problems, I need your help. Almost always a positive response. Absolutely. And the reason for that is because on the whole, and this fits into that 95% of people that I said are on the whole decent people. Most people like to feel desired, like to feel needed, required. They like to be of use. So when you ask for help, most people will actually try and help, especially if they are not looking at you as though you've got a major problem. Now, rest assured, if I wasn't interested in helping people, I certainly wouldn't be doing this or positive perceptions. This positive perceptions or positive perspectives. I wouldn't be doing them for free. It just doesn't add up that way. Oh, that's what that is. Had a pen and apparently I put it down and don't know where I put it down to. Don't you just love the way that happens in this house? Oh, there we are. See, here's the neat little thing with family. If you believe your family can get along and you voice this, okay, the odds are that added support, that added encouragement is almost all that is going to be required to put things back on track. But it's up to you to do the work. Okay. What do I want here? I'm just making a couple notes because, like I said, I make notes while I'm on the stream because it helps me stay focused for when I get off. See, the neat thing about it, when we're looking at family, look at what the family is. Is the family unified? Okay. Unlike many of the religions, families can be and usually are unified in their approach. But you got to remember, there are certain things that don't add up. Okay. Like the reality is, you take a look at those 3 karmic laws. Be true to yourself first. Do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. Energy out, energy in. You do that. Okay, you follow those 3 laws. And it isn't going to matter what's going on. Your day is likely to run a little more smoothly than if you're doing the other side of it. But it's absolutely imperative that you get it straight in your head. Yes, blood is thicker than water. Okay, I'm recommending you just take my word for it, or if you get caught, feel the thickness and the viscosity of blood. Then compare it to water. Okay, you'll find that frankly, blood is thicker than water. But in order for this to all work, okay, and this is where it comes to my calling on you guys for help. The more we spread the idea, okay, that this can work, and the more we talk to people outside of the stream, the more of an impact it's going to be and going to get. Now, I do believe it's on the computer right now. I'm not changing screens on the computer right now for a lot of reasons. Okay, but what we have to remember is I can't stand up fast or I fall over. And that always looks fun. What we have to remember is that whatever you're putting your effort into, that is ultimately what you're going to draw towards you. Now, let me ask you guys, where it comes to your life or what you're seeing in somebody else's life, what would you like to see change in what fashion in order to draw out a happier, more complete life for yourself or for the people you're observing? Take your pick. I will tell you, one of the reasons I turned to helping people in the first place was not honestly because of the fact that I was really, bear in mind, I started doing this when I was 10. Okay. I didn't start doing it because I really wanted to help everybody. I started doing it because I could feel the pain of their disarray. and I wanted the pain to go away. Now, in your guys' case, you may have various different motives. Doesn't matter if you've got more than one. Okay, sometimes that can be kind of beneficial. Yeah, Joe, I will get to yours in a sec there, Philip. Joe, you're absolutely right. Joe's gone. Just remember, if you do find a partner in your life, make sure it's not a mistake. Now, I will tell you, every relationship has their complications, but open communication, okay, will work. It does work. Okay. Now, if there is a problem, okay, like be clear at the get-go. When I met my first wife, I literally inside of 30 seconds, okay, inside of 30 seconds, I told her flat out I was going to marry her one day. Now, the intriguing part there is I didn't ask you if she was interested. I just said this is what's going to happen. Okay. As it turned out, we did. We were married for 16 years. We have now been divorced. No, we have not been divorced longer than we were married. Because we were married in 1991, got divorced in 2007. Well, in all fairness, the books say we got divorced in 2006. Okay, but I was still under the same roof for 5 months. Okay. Well, the fact of the matter is, I knew what was coming. Okay. I ended up telling our mutual boss I was going to marry that young lady. Right. Then I promptly ignored her for a year and a half. Got married on a $40 promise ring. Marriage lasted 16 years. My current girlfriend, it took me 3 days to say, yeah, I'm definitely in the intent of making this relationship work, given opportunity. Of course, the fact of the matter is, I wasn't about to tell her about it until she opened the door. So when she opened the door, I told her point blank, I will ask her to marry me one day when she gets across the border. I'm not about to ask her when I go down to the States. Okay, but you see, in my eyes, it really boiled down to this. Okay, I knew when I first saw my first wife, I knew full well I was going to marry her. I didn't get shown how it was going to come to a close, right? Only that that we were going to get married, and as it turned out, it went down exactly the way that I'd seen. Okay, I didn't know how the marriage was going to end, but I can tell you that I told my dad when I was 14 how that entire marriage was going to come about. It did, right down to the day count. Okay, this one, I told her point blank, I am intending on marrying you. Do not, when you find a partner, if you know what you're aiming for, come right out and tell them. Don't leave them guessing. Let them know where you're at and what you're looking for. LA's going, I've been married to Storm for 23 years. Known him for 26. That's how I knew I wasn't making a mistake. And absolutely. Now, in my case, I spotted it like that. Okay. I'm not that special. I just trust my instincts more than I trust logic. But I will tell you, and here's a real kicker for you, that most of you are going to look at me going, how can you say that? And you'll figure that out in a second. When you find a potential partner, given that you're seeing them 2 to 3 times a week, okay, given that you're seeing them 2 to 3 times a week, face to face, make certain you stay out of the bedroom for at least the first 2 and preferably the first 3 months. The reason being, the moment you cross that border, the moment you cross the border of becoming intimate, neither one of you is going to be paying attention to the long game. Okay, in all likelihood. If you stay out of the bedroom for the first 2 to 3 months, preferably 3, you've got a good solid foundation. Okay, and like I said, that's given that you see them, that you're seeing them face to face. In my case, I've spent 3 years on the phone with my other half on FaceTime, almost 24/7. Okay, for 3 years. This is why I know we don't have a problem coming up. Okay, I will continue to look down on her because the odds of her ever being taller than me, unless I end up in a wheelchair, she's pretty much hooped. Yeah, absolutely, Tony. Absolutely, cards on the table. If you're looking for marriage, do not let them go, oh, I'm into an open relationship. Meaning, I couldn't be faithful if I wanted to be because I've got no interest in it. An open relationship and marriage are mutually incompatible. I have only almost. I have in one case seen a relationship where it worked. One. Well over 100,000 clients under my belt. Okay. Family is still ultimately the big thing. Okay. That is what you're here for. That and to remember exactly who and what you are. Now here's the thing. If you're already in a relationship, if you've already got a partner, and those of you that already have a partner likely haven't forgotten this aspect, but if you have, when was the last time you went out with your partner, whether it's a husband, a wife, a girlfriend, a boyfriend, doesn't matter. I mean, I don't care if you're married to a sheep. Okay. When was the last time you went out on a date? Okay. Not when did you sit down and have dinner together, but when did you actually go on a date together? If it's been a while, which I'm laying odds that it has been, might be time to look into one. Yeah, definitely. No, I agree with you wholeheartedly there, Tony. The funny thing is, I have guided people back together after their marriage collapsed due to fidelity. I have guided dozens back to a stable marriage. I even took one where I guided the people, they were going to split anyway, but I worked with them. Unbeknownst to me, they were going to connect as a couple because I didn't ask for their names. The only question I ever asked people, I asked 3 questions. 4. What's your name? That's so I got something to call you other than, hey, you. What's your birth date? Okay. The reason for that is that an 18-year-old thinks very different on the whole than somebody in their late 40s. Okay. It also helps me determine paths in the whole 9 yards. Then I ask, what's the question you're looking for? That's 3. The 4th thing that I constantly ask while I'm going through talking to people is, does this make sense? Period. Don't care if it does or not. Well, I care if it does. If it doesn't make sense, then we go back over it until it does. If it does make sense, then that's great. Because you got to remember, I don't have to know what's going on in somebody's life. Yeah. LA goes, Storm and I go out for a date at least once or twice a week. And that's fantastic. This is also one of the reasons why your guys' marriage is as solid as it is. Okay. You know, and she goes on to say, the phone gets put away. Nothing more important for that hour. Absolutely. If you've got a partner, you gotta understand the relationship has to take work. It's not going to happen of its own accord if you don't have it. And no, in case you hadn't noticed, it is nobody else's responsibility. It is yours and your other half. Family is a work in progress. It's something you've got to focus on. Okay. It's also the way to build a foundation, because here's the neat little kicker. And this is especially true if you've got kids. Okay. This is absolutely especially true if you've got children. People will tell you, don't fight in front of your kids. Don't talk about finances in front of your kids. Where better to do so? Now, here's the kicker. If you end up fighting in front of your kids, make sure you make up in front of your kids. And I did say make up, not make out. Okay. There are certain things the kids really don't need to know about. Okay. Because especially not as young kids. Once they get into that age, whole different ball game. But for the moment, we'll leave that. Yeah, LA goes, family and close friends are the only real exception. Yeah, absolutely. The important factor here, when you got a family unit that is unified, okay, then what you've got is a foundation to build an entire community. Because here's where it gets better. As your family solidifies and becomes unified, it will show to the people around you. It will show to your neighbors. Okay. And I will tell you, people do appreciate it more. I remember going to a restaurant one day with a bunch of there was my eldest son and his 8th birthday. And we took 3 of his friends down to a high-class place. And everything was going tickety-boo. And the waitress comes up to me. And like I said, I'm not known for thinking first before speaking. So she comes up. And she goes, I gotta ask her, how did you get all of these kids to behave so well? I said, oh, that's easy. I said, there were 5. I shot one. The rest have behaved ever since. Well, her mouth hit the floor. And then she walked off. And as she's coming back, one of the kids had already started misbehaving. And I looked at him. I didn't see her coming. I looked at him. I said, look, kiddo, I've got no problem taking you out to the car, putting you in there, locking the door, and making certain, and then coming back in here to finish dinner. Right. Well, just as the waitress is arriving, the kid goes, yeah, how's that going to work? I can unlock the car. I can unlock the door. I looked at him and I said, that's why they invented trunks. The poor waitress, she just stood there with her mouth open. She's like, sir, you have a very unique approach. I said, yeah. I said, well, in all fairness, 3 of these are rentals. Right. But be upfront and honest. It will work so much better. But do not do what I saw one genius do. He was told, be honest with your other half. You want it to work. Be straightforward and honest. What did he go and do? He cheated on her. Then he comes home and says, oh, I just wanted to let you know, I did cheat on you. But I know we can work it out because I'm being honest. And for some weird reason, it didn't work out all that well. I'm not quite certain how he misconstrued be honest to cheat and tell her about it. To me, that didn't make any sense. But enjoying your time with your kids, enjoying your time with your chosen family, absolutely imperative. Now, of course, people have asked me, what do I find enjoyable? I frankly, or more to the point, what do you do for fun? I honestly don't know. Okay, something got really scrambled a while ago. Ultimately, yes, LA. And this is why I had to tell I've had to tell lots of people. Look, I can explain it for you. I can explain it to you. I cannot understand it for you. Okay, that's your department. We can give you any tool available. We can give you the best tools on the planet. Okay, or the best tools in existence. If you don't pick them up and use them, they won't accomplish much. It's funny because when the book The Secret came out, one of my then regular clients, and she's still a client to this day, she phones me up and she goes, "This book just came out." She goes, "Why are they calling you new?" She said, "You've been teaching this for a decade that I'm aware of." I said, "Well, the reality is I speak my language, they speak theirs. There's a lot of different ways of saying things. The one thing that does ring very solid, if you're being honest, they don't get options. They also can't really twist it around. Oh, you said such and such. If you're being honest, there's no trying to remember. You just go with the truth. But you are right, LA. People hear what they choose to. Okay. And, I can tell you, I'm not going to lie to you, to make you feel better. You may not get that. You may not accept that until you run headlong into it. This is why when people tell me, "Oh, I'm in constant contact with off-worlders, ancient races," and they're still going on about, "Oh, the aliens are coming to wipe us out." I'm like, people, doesn't work that way. Okay. God gave you free will. God gave you freedom of choice. He didn't give you freedom from consequence. It is up to you to look in the mirror and go, am I content with my current life? If the answer is no, it's time to get started changing it. Okay. It is no longer functional to leave things sit. And this is why I've started really pushing the issue of change in the world around me. And the important factor from that standpoint is change. People say change is difficult. Here's the thing. Family can be difficult as well. The funny part about it is this. First and foremost, every time you have a thought, every time you take a breath, every time your heart beats, you're going through change. I'm betting it's not that hard for your lungs to pump, for your blood to pump. I appreciate the hands up, LA. Your blood pumps automatically. Every time you have a thought, you're going through change, and I'm betting dollars to donuts. None of you are lying on the floor writhing in pain and agony. Okay, so change begins. Well, change literally begins up here. Then you'll get to either your mind or your heart. But when your mind can conceive it and your heart can believe it, you can achieve it within reason. Let us understand. If you feel that you can fly, absolutely give it a shot. Get out there and go and do it. But use your common sense. Jump off a curb. Okay, we're talking a 6-inch lift. Maybe only 4, I'm not sure. Okay, but jump off and imagine yourself flying. Maybe you will. But I'm telling you, if you don't, a 6-inch drop is so much better than 14 floors. Okay, but this is the time for us to really focus on changing our life, changing the path this world is on. If we leave it on its current path, we are in for some serious problems. Okay, if the Titanic, if they had paid attention and built the Titanic the way it was supposed to be built, it wouldn't have sank. But they decided to cut corners. In today's world, people are cutting corners all the time, looking for instant gratification, minimal effort. Let's see if we can change our life. I desire to lose weight, so I'm going to take a pill and I'm going to sit on my backside and do nothing. Now, I don't know about you, but that doesn't seem practical. I know I tried the idea of taking the medication, and that caused a heart attack. So I went, I'm not happy anymore. And I literally threw the medication out. This last bout that I did go on, because I told my doctor I would. What I didn't tell her is that, I didn't go into the details and say, look, if this stuff screws me up, I'm quitting. What I said was I was going to use it until my body was reset properly. Well, blood sugar control causes me to go blind. Blood pressure control causes everybody else to suffer from dementia. Not interested in either one. I am quite happy to say that since I stopped taking my medication, I'm still taking the hawthorn berry. And I have started cooking with salt to get salt into my system to eliminate the vertigo. Here's the neat part. I mentioned that earlier here, that I got hit with vertigo. It used to be, until I talked to a buddy of mine, it used to be a very simple issue. Vertigo hits, my temperature goes through the roof, like as in up 20 degrees. I'm laid out on the couch or on the bed for 3-4 hours before I can even move. You saw with your own eyes, this is salt. You saw how quick that turned it around. That's what I look at. Not what the doctors say, or not what the so-called professionals say. This is the best thing for you. I go, may not be the best thing for me, but since I'm not laid out on my bed with vertigo, I'm guessing this was a decent trick. As it was, I nearly fell down up front getting it. Right. My son looked at me, he goes, Dad, don't try and move so fast. So I'm not trying to move fast. I was trying to stay standing upright. But I'm doing fine. Now, with that in mind, where are we? We should check that. I told you I was going to, so let's go find out and see what it's up to. Because I did tell you I was going to let you know. Whoop. Normally when I do this, I actually lay down. But they should give me an indication. If it's still a little off kilter, which it may well be, then I'll deal with it. It was definitely a little high before. So I'm just seeing what it's going to do now. Now, it was rather on the high side. Now, just that little bit, it's still 143 over 82. Pulse is down at 88, but I've been up and moving. But it's over 82, not over 136. Should have written it down in all fairness, but that's okay. The reality of it is this. I can go back and listen to this video and get the information. Okay, Tony, thank you so much for sharing your time with us. I really do appreciate it. Looking forward to seeing you again. One day I am going to, one of my goals, in all fairness, Tony, is to get over to Ireland. And while I'm there, I undoubtedly will drop into Wales. I never even thought about travel when I was a kid. I get lost way too easy. Here I am planning trips around the world. It's weird. Very weird. But what the heck? From my stand, it boils down to this. Choose your family as people that are there, that are willing to support you and help you. I don't mean people that are willing to give you handouts and pat you on the back and say, hey, you're doing really well. If you're doing something stupid, proper support indicates somebody says, hey, don't be dense. I won't tell, I do not control people. I told my other half, I'm very controlling. I will not let her drive downtown. She looks at me and goes, well, why not? I says, dear, you're blind. She goes, oh, yeah. I don't care that she's blind. I mean, let's face it. She's blind. I don't have a problem here. Because, see, if she's blind, then I don't have to worry about her being able to see me. Where are we here? Yeah, I'll get to 2 a.m. Tomorrow morning, about 2 a.m. is when I get up. Thanks so much there, Tony. Now the reality of it is, guys, I want to see what we ended up with here. We go refresh just to see. I'm just seeing what the stream did here. Okay, again, guys, if you like the stream, yeah. Oh, yeah, I translate time zones all the time. That's the neat part. I can understand the issue of time zones being affected. Daylight savings time, that's a whole different ballgame. But, we're still sitting at 6:02, but we're holding stable. And, I'm quite content with that. But it did come to my attention that once I got past the idea of worrying too much about the numbers, all of a sudden I relaxed a whole lot. Now, this week, we're going to continue looking at the whole issue of family, how it, the whole thought behind it, what we can do to improve it, okay, and how that's going to affect us all the way across the board. Now, with this in mind, in 2 hours, 2 hours essentially, at 9 o'clock tonight, I'll be going live stream with Dave, with the ET Connection on Spaced Out Radio. And yeah, thank you so much for that there, LA. Take this. Oh yeah, I think that's still there. And we go, paste that. Yep, this is the link. From 9 to 11 tonight, that's where I'll be. If you want to drop in, bring your questions, absolutely. If you like our current stream, do give us a thumbs up. Do subscribe to the channel and share the daylights out of the thing. That would be really appreciated. Now, with that in mind, I will be back again tomorrow, but tomorrow we're looking at family on a one-to-one basis. Your family and the way to some of the techniques to bring it back into balance. Okay. Methods that have been tried and have worked for literally centuries, but many have been forgotten. So I will be back again tomorrow. Until then, do take care of yourselves and each other. And for pity's sake, do stay positive.